Hello, I'm Manawiltos, and this is a review to Season 1 of The Animals of Farthing Wood. Okay, so before I start on the review itself, let me talk about a little bit about my interest in this series, okay? So when I was little, I remember having watched this series a while back. I think it came out somewhere in the early 90s, or sometime in the 90s, and I watched it and I remembered enjoying it a lot. So I decided to, some years later, more recently, to go looking for it and to see what this series actually was, because I didn't remember too much from it. I just remembered that I really liked it a lot. So I found it and I decided, well, why not watch it just for old time's sake? And I did. So this review is my impression of it. Okay, so now on to the series. The premise of the series is that there's a number of different animals in this area called Farthing Wood, and they are being encroached upon by, I suppose, land development by humans, as in the humans are going to develop the land, and the animals, of course, will lose all their homes because of this. So they decide that they're going to move to another place called White Deer Park, because they heard from it by a character called Toad, who is a toad, of course. Most characters are named after the animal that they are. So there's Toad, and he comes from White Deer. He's from Farthing Wood originally, but at some point he was captured, and then he managed to escape, and he was at White Deer Park, and then he returned to Farthing Wood. So he leads all these other animals to White Deer Park. Now, the group of animals, there's Badger, who is, I suppose, he's the animal that actually decides to get all the animals together and decide what to do about the humans encroaching their area. There's Fox, who is chosen as the leader to all the animals. And then there's a number of other animals as well. And there's always Owl, who is always quoting things and being wise and everything. So now let's get into, I suppose, some spoilers. I think that the series... Well, not spoilers yet, sorry. I think that the series was relatively enjoyable. The dialogue... it's not too sparse on dialogue, but those of you who are more high-minded might find it a bit simple. And I think it's okay for children to watch, even though there are some scenes where there is some violence. And also the show has an environmentally friendly message. Okay. So the opening of the show, it has the animals, of course, and everything's fine, and then the humans come in with their devices and everything, and then there's a cement mixer which turns, and then cement, there's this scene in the opening where cement just swallows the land. It just comes down on the land like it's some huge flood or something. So that really shows you which direction the makers of the show were going. Other things about the show, I found it enjoyable, as I said earlier, and now let's get into some spoiler territory. So, if you don't like spoilers, then I suppose you can stop watching at this point. But if you liked everything so far, please do leave a like and subscribe if you really want to. Also follow links in the description. Okay, so spoilers. There's some tension in the group, of course, because the Fox is... he's the leader, but Owl actually thinks that she would be a better leader. And Adder, which is an adder, for those of you who might not know, an adder is a type of snake. There's always tension with Adder, whether or not Adder is going to eat some of the smaller animals, some of the mice and the voles and stuff. But Adder never actually goes through with it. So there's also this air of the animals looking out for each other and actually becoming closer together, because at the start they're obviously predator and prey, or if you don't have that dynamic, they're competing animals. But as the show goes on, they actually get closer and are less likely to eat each other. Of course, there's deaths, of course. For example, the field mice have babies, but then the babies are impaled on a bush by the butcher bird, which is a one-time character as far as I have seen in Season 1. And if you like the show, if you'd like to watch, then please do give it a watch. I think it was a great show. Some people do dislike the amount of violence there is in it, but I personally think that it's okay. You know, it gives you some of a reality of life. You know, kids, they're always worried about parents are always worried about kids seeing violence and death and stuff like that, but the show really gives it an atmosphere that, yeah, people do die, but it's part of life, really. People die, and it's part of life. So on the environmentalist angle of the show, it doesn't really go overboard with that. It's just animals trying to survive in a first world setting. Because, you know, there's always land development going on, people building things everywhere, and eventually it comes to a point where animals have a smaller territory and then they run out of room and then they have to go somewhere else or they die. And this is what happens in the show, literally. So they go across the countryside and they eventually arrive at White Deer Park. But, of course, Season 2, there's always going to be a bit more trouble after they arrive because, you know, got to keep the tension up. Overall, I have to say that the show did good. So I think that's all I've got to say about it. So thank you all for watching, and I will be seeing you all next time on Otos Over and Out.